So, welcome to Muddy Boots Herbalist. You're joining us on a day that would in fact be incredibly muddy if we were out and about outside. Fortunately we're not. We're sat by a roaring fire in the warmth and comfort of a home and my dispensary, which is next door from here. I was pottering around the dispensary earlier this afternoon and I found something. I've pressed pretty much all the tinctures for the year that need pressing. I'll make a few barks later on in the winter, willow bark, viburnum, cramp bark, those kind of things. But basically tincture making for the year is done. Bar some roots and barks in the late winter and early spring. So yeah, the season has come to its head. And I was clearing out my maceration cupboard where I make my tinctures and found something. I found my tincture of Wood Avens, Geum urbanum. If you remember back a few video vlogs ago, we made a tincture, or we harvested some Wood Avens and looked at what it was supposed to be doing and what the plant looked like and making the tincture of it. Today we press out that tincture and have a look and see what the result is. It's been macerating for approximately 5 months, so it's not a 6-week job, it's a proper length maceration. So I'll get the notebook out, we'll make some observations and we'll go in the dispensary and see what we found. So, the moment of truth. I need a reasonably sized flask. How much is in here? About half a litre. For those that may not have seen me use the tincture press before, this is a smallest tincture press you can get, more or less. It's a company called Vigo Presses down somewhere in Gloucestershire. They mainly do cider presses, but they do this quite nice little mini press, which is ideal for tinctures. It holds about 3 litres of stuff. Very, very simple. You could make one yourself, I dare say, but time to unwind the plunger. Let's have a sniff. Ooh! That actually does smell really very strongly of cloves. Possibly a bit more delicate than a clove, not as spicy. But certainly quite aromatic and certainly of eugenol. Ooh. So, whenever using this tincture press, you've got to spread the spent mark quite evenly on the bottom of the press. Or else the piston won't track easily down the press and it will dig in. Spread evenly, you'll get even pressure on the mark and you'll get a nice yield. At the end of the day, it's a little plastic bottom tincture press. It's not going to exert tons of pressure on this. Snowdonia Botanical. And that's what happens when you run a complementary medicine clinic. The phone goes, things have to be taken and dealt with, patients have to be booked in. It's just the way it goes. This is why I usually shoot these vlogs later at night, when people aren't going to disturb me, but there we go. So, we've got out about 200 mils of very spicy, very rich smelling tincture, which you certainly wouldn't expect from a weed that grows in stone chippings in northwest Wales. So let's start pressing this out. He says merrily, dropping the spout from the press. The only criticism I've got of this tincture press is that the plastic base plate, which does actually have a metal pressure plate underneath it, but the plastic base plate, almost the tray around the bottom of this tincture press, mine did crack after about 3 years of use.
And I thought, oh dear, it's going to be a new tincture press for me for 75 quid. So I rang up the company that makes them, Vigo Presses. And I spoke to a very nice lady who popped one in the post for me as a replacement for the princely sum of £16, including P&P. So it's nice to see something that's actually serviceable these days. So I think we've got pretty much all we can press out of this pressed out of this, which takes us to 250 mils. That's perfect. I actually forgot about this tincture. I was busy with summer activities and I left it macerating in a cupboard and promptly forgot about it. Bit of a funnel, I suppose. I must admit, I do like filtering tinctures. Some people don't, but I do. Just gives a nice, clearer and more professional product. And we're going to need a label, aren't we? So Geum urbanum. What was it? It was a 1 in 3, 30%. Batch number 1714. When did I make it? I have to look in the notebook for that. I have a feeling this was one of the tinctures I made this summer when I'd run out of grain spirit and had to make it with vodka. So I think that's why it's a straight maceration. It's extracted the character of the plant very well. And although the plant didn't smell that aromatic when I dug it up, it certainly does now. So something's obviously come out in the maceration. Now we've actually got the tincture. Well, we've got two things. We've got 50 mils of tincture out of the batch that we just pressed, and we've got some water and a measuring cup. So I think now it's time to taste some of this tincture and see what it is that we're dealing with. So we'll mix 5 mils and a bit of water and see what it tastes like. I suppose there's no way to do it, is it really? I have mentioned the smell in the dispensary, but let's have a look at the smell first of all. Quite clovey. Gentler than cloves, possibly. It's quite spicy, bordering on pungent, quite aromatic, somewhere between cedarwood, cinnamon and cloves. Not the kind of aromatic smell you'd expect from something that's grown in the middle of a very slaty, chippy Welsh garden. Well, not even the garden. That's grown in the slate chip pathway next to a herb bed in a very slaty, chippy Welsh garden. That's really quite a tropical, warm aroma. Certainly not to be expected from a Welsh wood plant that grows in the shade. I like that. The colour doesn't show up on the camera, is quite red. I think it's got flowbane in it, or flowophanes. These are quite astringent compounds that you find in the likes of tormentil and bisort. They are polyphenols that are quite astringent, really, quite drying and quite heating constitutionally, and physiologically they will improve the activity of the heart and circulation,
their digestive astringents, whether they fit the category of being a tannin or not, I'm not going to get into the debate on what makes a tannin or not. If they're astringent enough and tanning enough, they will be, I suppose. Also, as they're polyphenols, it supposes that they're going to be anti-inflammatory to some degree. So the colour is quite rich. It's like a colour of a dark brandy through to a light brown port. I do like the colour, I do like the smell. Even diluted by 5-fold, it's still quite dark. So dilute, the first thing I'm getting is mild bitterness, slightly drying, becoming more pronounced bitterness. There's a slight tingling at the back of the mouth, a slight numbing, slight tingling, the kind of thing you get from echinacea if you remember what alkylamides taste like. That's like tingling, slightly drying sensation. You get it with clove oil as well. I'm wondering if that's actually the eugenol in here doing that to me. In terms of perceptual energetics, it's perceived as moving downwards in the body, outwards and relaxing, quite clearing. Quite relaxing, quite soothing really. So let's take some neat and see what comes of it. This is only 1 in 3, it's not like I'm taking fluid extract, so. Much more noticeable as drying. Much more tingling. Almost numbing to the tongue. Not as bitter as I'd have thought. Not as drying, but I'd say toning. Given that I always have quite a sore wisdom tooth that is at some point going to be cut out, I'm sure, let's see if we can actually get it on the back of the tooth and see what happens. We're going and try. Oh my goodness. My goodness. That is most certainly numbing to my slightly sore tooth. Well, sore gum. This third of my mouth feels like it's been frozen, or like it's had an ice pick sunk into it that happens to be frozen. There's tingling, numbness, and the slight dull throb of my truculent wisdom tooth has well and truly disappeared. Well, it's not disappeared. It is less noticeable. And if I bite the side of my cheek, it doesn't feel sharp, it feels numb and tingly. Actually, like it would do if I was using, say, tooth drops made with clove essential oil. I make a set of clove essential oil drops which are 90% myrrh tincture, 10% clove essential oil. And they have this effect on my tooth. Story I like to tell is that last year I was going down to the Green Gathering, and we go down there on the Tuesday morning to set up the festival starting on the Thursday. But we're there for a full week really. And Monday evening my tooth kicked off, couldn't get to see an emergency dentist in time, and I was in a bit of a pickle really. This is a truculent wisdom tooth I've just mentioned. Every now and again, it grows a little bit more, rips a bit more of the gum, has a bit of a bleed, has a bit of a do, and then stops. And it does that 2 or 3 times a year. It has done for the last 3 years. Mustn't be that wise then. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do, so I went to the dispensary, went back to first principles, cloves, myrrh, whacked the infection on the head with the myrrh, numbed the tooth with the cloves, job done. Little 10ml bottle I took down with me in a glass dropper. Started using it, and by Wednesday I'd forgotten to use it because it had calmed down the inflammation of the tooth definitively. And I thought I was going to have to see an emergency dentist somewhere in Chepstow. Now, I'm not saying that this is as powerful as clove essential oil. It most certainly isn't. It's as powerful as 10% clove essential oil with myrrh-ish, maybe slightly less. I can't tell, because I've not got that much pain to judge against. The thing that's heartening here is that we've obviously got some herb that does contain eugenol in material enough doses to be extracted through maceration. And I dare say you probably get more than 90% or 60% alcohol. And whether it's worth distilling, whether you get enough roots to distill, I don't know. It's worth a try, I suppose. But we've clearly got an extract that does contain eugenol. It does have a numbing effect, and I'm quite surprised at just how strong the numbing effect is. If the world blew up tomorrow and I didn't have access to distilled essential oils, I would happily use this herb as a tooth herb. I wasn't expecting that. I know when I had the first video back in the summer, I said, you know, it does contain eugenol, so this plant's going to be quite like cloves in some way. I wasn't actually believing it. I thought, okay, it's going to be gentle, soothing, carminative, and astringent for children. Well, I dare say it probably could be, but there is certainly dental numbing going on. So I'm going to write down what I've just said to the camera, and I'm going to pop this up as a monograph on my website. You can see that later, the link is here. And I'm going to put this video up on YouTube and see if anyone else has got any opinions. If any other herbalists would like to do, I suppose what the homeopaths would call a proving on this, if any other herbalists would like a 50ml sample of this stuff to road test on themselves, drop me a private message or send me a message via my personal blog. Again, link down there. And I'll post them out for the cost of postage and packing. I'd be interested to see other people's opinion on this herb, and for other people to work with it and to use it and to give an opinion on it, and maybe bring this back into the fold of herbs out of the fold of herbs we've forgotten, back into the fold of herbs that we use, because I think it's quite a valuable one. But I'll leave that up to other people to take what I've done further and go play. As we say, if you don't muddy boots herbalist, well, I do wedding. See you later.